don't take life too seriously because you'll never get out alive. It's very true, you know. You're never gonna get out alive, so have some fun while you're here.
I read that you were actually supposed to be in college and you moved to LA without your parents knowing. Is that true?
I was supposed to be at Kwantlen University in British Columbia, Canada, and I did go there for 45 minutes and said nope, and I left. I moved to Los Angeles to get into improv comedy. I just thought, I'm gonna go do this thing and I'm gonna give it a year. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll go back to school, get a degree, and go join the workforce.
Did your parents find out when they saw you on TV, or did you?
No, it was about 6 weeks into my trip in Los Angeles, and I called them and said, hey, I'm in Los Angeles, I'm not in school. My father hung up on me, and then my mom called me back, and she was always kind of the voice of reason, and then, my father sort of came around. I eventually ran out of money, so I just asked an agency to meet with me, and I called about 10 of them, and then I finally got my foot in the door with one really small agency, and I bullshitted them. I just said, if you send me out on 5 auditions, I don't care what they are, what they're for, I promise you'll come back with one. And somehow I got the 4th one. I got a sitcom, which was probably still the best job I've ever had, because it was
the residuals?
No, it had nothing to do with money. The
Okay.
best job I've ever had, because it was a live audience. It was like kind of what I wanted to be doing anyway, which was improv comedy and that kind of stuff. It was a live audience that would pour in, and then the sitcom world is about a 6 or 7 or 8 month at most job a year. I mean, you finish your season and then you're free. So I loved it because I would just go travel. I would go backpacking all over the world, and I would do all these sort of things. I think I really spent that money that I made wisely at the time. I got to see the world and have experiences. So everything that happened to me is sort of in aggregate kind of way. It was very sort of slow and steady. So I'm grateful for that kind of momentum being very, very sort of snail's pace, as opposed to like a rocket ship, because I've watched so many people in this industry come and go in various tragic ways and that sort of thing. And fame is a weird animal to deal with, I think, for anybody. So for me, it happened so slowly that it's sort of like getting into a bath over the course of a year. You're not going to get shocked by the water, be it cold or hot. You're going to, you're going to just immerse yourself in a way that's really, really slow. So most people aren't really offered that ability. Everything's all or nothing in Hollywood. It's either you're the biggest star they've ever seen or you're done.
Yeah.
I somehow found that. I got lucky and found that weird sort of middle ground where I was able to kind of just slowly build my career.
When you envisioned your life as an adult, was acting the thing that you wanted to do, or was there another career at 5 or 6 years old that you thought about?
No, I mean, I always thought I'd end up as in law enforcement, like my family. So I didn't imagine that acting was a way to get out of the house. It wasn't really like a passion when I was a kid. It was something that I was already doing at home, to survive. So you kind of, I noticed when I was a kid, making people laugh was a great self-defense mechanism. It really helped me kind of navigate my way through my own home. It was a means to an end. It was just a way to get out of the house, and I could act. I didn't necessarily want to. I just knew I could.
Well, what was it like in high school, the fact that you were doing this acting? How did your peers perceive that? I
hid it largely in high school. Then I never celebrated. It was always something I kind of really tried to keep as quiet as possible. For me, high school was a situation where the more invisible I was, the more kind of happy I was. So I just wanted to get through that shit show and go live my life. And a lot of the stuff I did was shown in the United States, but not necessarily shown in Canada. So I could kind of get away with that.
You're the youngest of 4 brothers, including a couple who became cops?
My dad was a cop as well.
Okay, so how did you stay alive as the youngest of 4?
You get by on your wits. That's how you do it. You don't get by on your fists. So, it was kind of a rough household. I was less like the youngest brother, but more like a moving target.
Okay.
It was a lot of that stuff. We're all super close now.
Well, how did that experience prepare you for life?
You kind of become hyper perceptive. You start to really sort of think about how you're going to survive. So especially my 3 older brothers, who were so sort of physical guys, and there was just rough housing. Like, for them was always funny. For me, it was like a life-threatening situation. So you sort of learn to kind of get by on using your mind, not your fists. So I became kind of hyper perceptive as a kid, and I know that contributed in enormous ways to the different paths I chose in life, particularly show business and that sort of thing. I was able to kind of constantly mimic people or watch people and look for tiny signs and big signs of, danger. It was tough. I was a kid I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of different kind of phobias and issues that I had to sort of work through, and it took me a long time to kind of recognize those things as assets as opposed to liabilities. I still struggle with those same things. As challenging as they are, and they're also gifts that come with those things, and it's that same sort of situation where you become kind of incredibly perceptive in ways in which you otherwise wouldn't, You're constantly kind of sensing, both real danger and non-existent danger. So those are things that have really helped me in my work.
What's the biggest lesson that you've learned about the business side of film and acting?
Always just embrace this idea that you know nothing, because you don't. I mean, as soon as you think you know exactly how it's all going to go down, or what audiences are really yearning for, you can be surprised, So I love that edict. I like that idea that I believe in film and any endeavor to be a process of collaboration. I think you always have to listen and always ask for help, and the best leaders are the people that hire the best people. So for me, that's the thing that I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned, is just hire the best people you can, people that you connect with, people that you love, people that you can learn from. I get excited about stuff that's kind of inventive. I love ingenuity. I love anything that sort of I think is interesting. I'm not like a guy that sits around sort of rolling the dice, looking at the stock market and that kind of thing. I don't know anything about that. I wouldn't characterize myself as an entrepreneur. I would characterize myself as someone who has found a couple of different things in life that I believed in with every cell in my body, and this is one of them.
In thinking about your future, what's important to you?
Family, 100%. As anyone will know, it's almost frustratingly so for some of the people I work with, is that I gotta make sure that my time with my family is prioritized over anything else.
You did something really incredible a few years ago where you ran the New York Marathon to raise money for the Michael J. Fox Foundation for research for Parkinson's. Why was that important for you to do that?
My father had Parkinson's. He died a few years ago, but my father's very, very proud man. I mean, I think he said the word Parkinson's to me maybe twice in the 25 years that he had the disease. So I think the more people talk about it, the more I see guys like my father, who is a sort of the archetypal strong man, the guy who, don't talk about your feelings, cram them down, and sort of robbed of his physicality, and he was strong, he's an ex-boxer or cop, I think part of his identity was that he was a very strong man, so it forced him to kind of reassess all those things, which was in a way a good thing. But in the end, that loss of self and not quite knowing where you stand in any given moment is pretty tough. So I wonder if some of those underlying ideas or reasons we do get sick or sicker is because we're not sort of expressing ourselves or letting things out.